Brad, there's a reason why I drove 4.5 or 5 hours to get here, and it's because I just hear such incredible things from Bern. So we just did a tour of not only the cellar but the dessert room, the Andre Chelichev room, the champagne room, the Madeira room. It's like you said, it's a museum.
Bern's restaurant, Bern's Steakhouse and Wine Museum is what we should call it.
Wow, no, and you've been here for how long?
Come up on 23 years, I believe.
23 years.
Yeah,
23 years.
It's a good gig, you know. I don't no reason to leave yet. So
it's a dream job, right?
For me, yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not, you know, it's strange hours. You know, I mean, I always like when young, you know, aspiring sommeliers want to ask me about it. I said, well, you work a lot of holidays. You work weird hours. You know, you can't. You know, your night off might be Tuesday night. You know, not a lot of people want to have barbecues or dinner parties on Tuesday night. You know, it's a different lifestyle. But for me, I'm not just passionate about wine. I'm passionate about hospitality.
Yeah.
And to me, you kind of getting the pinnacle of both at this place. And it's almost, you know, I know it sounds crazy. Sometimes you need a break. You need a, you know, you get so busy. This place is so busy all the time, and sometimes you need a couple days off just to decompress. But after a while, it's almost like you're addicted to the action. You know, it's like
you miss it.
Yeah, you know, like I took actually last week I took 3 days off in a row, and by Tuesday night, I was raring to go. Every table was, you know. Sometimes when you're tired, you're like, you don't. It's harder to remember. Man, I was like on fire Tuesday night, just talking. So glad, you know, because it's exciting to bring things that nobody gets to try anywhere else.
Well, what is the most exciting part for you? Is it just having people discover a new wine?
Yeah, I really do think it's just I think I'm, as much as I love wine, I think I'm almost as hooked on hospitality when you can give them, you know, obviously the whole experience with dinner and everything with the, you know, the wine is kind of the cherry on top. And when you can bring people wine that they never even thought that they would ever try, you know, that's just a great feeling to see that reaction when someone is really blown away, you know, because everyone comes here with high expectations. I mean, it's a big commitment. Like I was talking to you earlier, I mean, to get a dinner reservation here, you got to be committed. And so people have big expectations when they get here. Mm-hmm. And when they walk away going, I knew it was going to be good. I'd heard it was great, but this was unbelievable. You know, this was unlike any other experience I've had at any restaurant. And that's the fulfilling. That's the fulfilling part. That's the part that keeps me coming back.
Did the passion for wine and that excitement, where did that start? Did it start here?
No, I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, in a place called Dixon, Illinois, and my uncle, my dad's oldest brother, lived right around the corner, and his sons were my age, and he was kind of the bon vivant gourmand of the family. You know, we were pretty Midwestern, you know. Mm-hmm. And you go over to his house. I remember, like, I'd go to my Uncle Henry's house, and there'd be like capers and anchovy paste in his refrigerator. I'm like, well, what is this? You know, we don't have this in my house, you know. Most people didn't, you know, growing up in, you know, Illinois. And then you went to his basement, he had a wine cellar. And, you know, I'd be like, just looking around, I mean, like, I'm like, what is this? And like, well, he loved German Riesling, you know, and you'd be like going,
oh man.
And you'd be like, old German, you'd be looking at these crazy old labels, and you're like, what in God's name is this?
What does it say?
What does it mean? Yeah. And, you know, he liked German Riesling, he liked Bordeaux, and I would like look at that stuff, you know, when I was like, you know, 14, 15, 16 years old, and I was curious. You know, by the time I got to college, I worked for some French guys, and I mean, I studied a little bit, but you know, I remember just being fascinated by buying bottles, and it just kind of happened. I started bartending and started learning more about wine and
refining the palate.
I worked at some nice places. I'd work like nightclubs on the weekends, and I needed to do something during the week, you know, pretty much so I could, you know, claim some money for taxes, you know, because you'd make tips. And it'd be like, you know, they'd be like, oh, well, if you know so much about wine, young kid, you know, you can come in and check in the wine order at 8 in the morning. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I was young, I had a lot of energy, so, you know, pretty soon, I don't know, I wrote my first wine list when I was 23. I was very proud. I had like 40 items on it.
Wow! And now you're the head sommelier at Bern Steakhouse.
Well, it's come a long way.
It's the biggest cellar in the country. I mean, you have 600,000 bottles here, correct?
I think that's conservative. Yeah, we don't. When I show you the warehouse, you'll see what I mean.
Well, we're going to the warehouse next, so you'll get that tour.
But I don't know of anybody that claims to have any more.
And it's a collection. It's not necessarily. This isn't like a wine cellar of a restaurant. This is someone's collection.
Bern bought it for the restaurant.
Yeah.
Bern was Bernard Laxer, our founder, was committed to having a. I don't know if his goal was to have the biggest wine collection in the world, although it's probably, if it's not it's got to be up there. No one knows for sure. But I mean, I think his goal, I think I mentioned here earlier, was just to have the best selection he could possibly have. That's a cool thing, as you've seen, you know. I mean, yeah, we've got great Bordeaux, great Burgundy, Champagne, but then there's, you know, table wines from Portugal from the 70s and 80s. You know, he was really into the Rhone. He explored a lot of other things, and I think that's the cool part about.
It's like an interesting selection.
It's
not just like the big Napa and big Chateau,
right?
Which you do have, but it's those smaller labels.
You know, and look at like we were looking at those pictures and looking at some of these old. He was going to California. California wines in the '60s were not anywhere. No one considered them world class yet, but he recognized that they were very, very good, and they were probably very affordable compared to Bordeaux, even. You know, back in those days, and so he could buy more of that. And I never got to speak to him about it. He passed right before I started. But you know, I just talking from the old guys and talking from his son David, my boss. You know, I think it was the vision was just to have the widest selection he could. And
and people come from all over to taste that. And he had a really good palate. He didn't drink a lot, but he did taste.
He was a great taster. And you know, like I said, he was hanging out with some of the most important people of that. You know, Andrei Chelichov we spoke about. I mean, really, who is more important in the history of North American winemaking? He's got to be right up there. Harry Wall was, you know, the dessert room's named after. Those were Bern's friends, and they taught him. They traveled together. They tasted together, and learned about wine. I mean,
he had the best teachers, and those were friends as well.
Yeah, friends.
Most restaurants and wine shops sell current vintages. I think what makes Bern special and why people travel is you can get really good aged selection of wines. Why is it important, do you think, to offer patrons aged wine? Just
to see how most wines can improve, and sometimes there's wines that I'll come out and say, oh, this might be a little past its prime, but you know, I think it's important to see. I mean, most restaurants don't have the luxury of stashing wine for. If you look on my list, there's like vintages of first growth Bordeaux from vintages maybe not that one's, that's an old one.
This is an old list. This is the OG list right here.
That's it.
But I mean, look,
that's a big book. So
it's a big book.
I know this sounds crazy, but you can like look in there. Most of my 2000 first growth Bordeaux, first, second, third growth Bordeaux, it'll say in cellar, because we don't believe they're ready yet. Yeah, I mean, if I don't have any 96 or 90 or 85s of a first growth Bordeaux, which I pretty much do, and then I'll say, okay, well, I guess we got to put the 2000. But why drink it? If I believe it's still improving, or we believe, the team here.
And you would tell that to someone being like, hey,
yeah, because people go, well, why is this wine in cellar? Why can't I? I said, well, we don't feel it's ready yet. Why don't you consider drinking? Look, I still have the 82. I still have the 75. Think about drinking that. And big vintages that are still improving, we try to keep in cellar, and we certainly believe that not to serve them until they're close to peaking.
Yeah. No.
So.
Do you ever get nervous with very serious collectors that come and want to spend an hour picking your brain about one wine?
It's, well, for, a decade and a half, that was always, you never, I mean, you always get nervous before you go on stage, if you're whatever, you know what I mean? But after 20 plus years, I've finally, I've gotten to know this cellar well enough that I mean, you always want to make sure that they're happy, but at this point, I've gotten to try so many things. It's
the confidence.
Well, it's just fun to go, oh, well, if you like old such and such, let's look at those. Well, you've had that vintage. Have you had this vintage? Oh, well, it's great. And that's exciting.
Finding their taste is interesting. Is it harder to sell wine today than it was when you first started, or no?
I tell you, when I started, we would only need 2 sommeliers on the floor on a busy night. And as time, after a couple of years, like, man, we're getting more and more demand for sommeliers. I don't know the explanation of that other than I think maybe younger generations weren't so, they want the sommelier experience. Is it easier? I can't say it's easier, but I tell you, a lot more people are interested in talking to sommeliers now. I don't know if they're, whether it's they're looking at things on social media or watching TV shows, and all of a sudden, like, in the old days, I think, people were, I don't say intimidated, but they got nervous or whatever to call a sommelier in, and that's what the biggest thing I want to do here is, I mean, first off, you come in and the list is already on the table. It looks like that. And then you ask for me and I come out, and I mean, let's face it, I'm kind of straight out of central casting as the snooty old sommelier, I mean, and so the first thing I want to do is try to put people at ease and say, look, it's wine, it's not.
You're here to help.
Yeah, I'm here to help, and I'm here to not just, talk about wine. I want you to have a great experience. I mean, that when you see something like that, and it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
And for someone who knows wine and even doesn't know about wine, you still want help picking something that's going to taste really good.
So the biggest thing I want to put people at ease, and let's just talk about what you like. And I say it 100 times. I said, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Tell me what you like, and let's find something similar but different. What I mean, okay, if we need to stay in your preferred wine region, okay, well, let me find a producer that you haven't tried, or let me find a vintage, an older vintage that you haven't tried, and let's go there. And I always say, well, the worst thing that happens, if you hate my suggestion, I'll be forced to drink it later, and we'll find you something that you do like, but when you're here, and that's what anybody that's asking for me usually, they're looking for that experience.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if I really answered the question, but
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was gonna also say, like, people come here for special occasions to open some remarkable bottles. What are some remarkable bottles that you've had the privilege to open?
Oh my gosh.
Latours.
I mean, I've opened Latours back to the early teens. I've opened Lafittes and Haut-Brions back to the 1880s.
And there's even, you said, an 1841.
There's still an 1841 Lafitte in our rare room.
Still waiting to.
Someone put a deposit on it, so it's.
Yeah.
I think they probably should come drink it pretty soon. As far as Burgundy goes, when I started here, we used to have I had a lot of. I've had 69 Latache from Magnum. It was still here. It was, I can't even believe how, I wish I had more of it, because I know what we would ask for it now and what I charge for it then, but like really cool, obscure things. And in Burgundy, when I used to come here, we used to have the old Dr. Barlets from the 20s and 30s and 40s. We had Pierre Pinel, which George Roumier made those wines, back to the 30s.
There's really no place in the world where like a wine geek could find a bottle they didn't know existed.
Exactly. And and that was the cool thing, is that, I know there's a lot of places you can go around and find the greatest of the greatest hits, but you can still come here and find really interesting wines from great producers. Maybe not Grand Cru Burgundy, but maybe some cool, even cool village wines from great producers, from great vineyards. They're still holding up because you feel how cold our cellar is and how much attention we pay to preserving the wine.
Yeah, the insulation, the cellar's really, the storage is absolutely incredible. The way you protect the corks too with the bags and all that, it's very important.
That's why people make special trips here. The provenance, it's pretty safe to say that just about anything in the cellar from 1961 on, most of it has been here since release.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes he was able to, when he was traveling, you know, he would take a position on, you know, the 82, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he'd say, well, do you have any older wines in your cellar that you'll tell me? So maybe some things did get here later, but they usually can't.
Yeah, just direct to producer, and it's very well cared for.
Provenance is the most important part of what we do.
Yeah, and it shows with the time that goes on. New regions are producing really good wines. What's the strategy in terms of expanding to regions like South Africa or Argentina? Are you constantly trying to expand there, or are you classically old world focused?
No. I mean, I was in Argentina a few years back. You know, we actually, I was looking. We could probably stand to put a few more Argentinian selections in there. I just got back from Portugal. Obviously, we've been buying port, but you know, the table wines from Portugal are getting better and better. I mean, Bern was buying, like I was telling you, he was buying the Barcavellas back in the 70s, but you know, we have a history of buying Portuguese table wine. But I mean,
there's pictures from the 1970s in the Douro Valley upstairs in the dessert room. You got to check it out.
I mean, to be honest, I've got older Argentinian wines. I mean, Bern was going to wine regions that, well, just think about. I mean, I've got I found a bunch of old Durif from Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So, like from the 70s, that Santa Cruz Mountain Vineyards were making, which made great Pinot back then. Then there's a bunch of dirt, and they're smoking, and it's like, I mean,
that's why you need a sommelier too, because you would have never think to buy, like we were talking about Ridge, right? You were talking about the 77, 78, 79 from Spring Mountain.
Spring Mountain, those wines, they're stunning. You know, I mean, I don't know when he quit sourcing fruit from up on York Creek, but I mean, some of those wines were some of the best cabs I've ever had. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, like new regions, I mean, Bern went everywhere back, way back. So, I mean, there's always, I mean, if there's something new and hot, we're always going to be open to it.
Exactly.
But I mean,
because you're going to regions too. You're traveling. You're seeing what's going on. You have your pulse on the wine world. You're not kind of stuck in time here at Bern's.
I bet some of the younger soms might think I am. They're like, you only want to drink Burgundy.
It's hard. Once you open those bottles, it's tough to go back to anything else.
But no, I try to keep open-minded to everything. So.
Yeah, and for going back to younger sommeliers, you've been in the business here at least 23 years. What advice would you give to people in their early 20s who were where you were?
I feel, knowing a lot about wine and studying wine is very important. But you got to remember, if you're a floor sommelier, the most important part of being a floor sommelier, at least my belief here at Bern's, wine knowledge is very important. Hospitality. Making, people don't come to be lectured. I mean, you have to, I think the most important part of being a som is walking up to a table and trying to figure out as quickly as possible, what do they want from me? If they want me to talk for hours and tell funny stories about wine regions and my travels, okay. Some people they want to get the order in and out, and they don't want to, you're not here to, show off your knowledge or make people uncomfortable. You got to identify what they want quickly and
it's part of emotional intelligence, understanding what
and obviously you have to study wine a lot to become a Bern sommelier, but the thing I think is most important is giving the guest the total experience.
Yeah. Do you remember an early mistake you made in terms of hospitality? I know there's probably a lot of stories, but anyone?
I've got a couple that I probably don't want to share. I do. I had a couple, but you saw them. How many champagne classes have you given? Staff trainings on opening champagne have you given? A lot, plenty, right?
Yeah. I also have a funny story about champagne and hospitality, but yeah.
One night I was opening. It was in one of the bigger dining rooms, probably luckily, and I had a Magnum of older vintage of a great producer, and I don't know. I talked with my hands a lot, and I'm opening it, and I'm like, oh, this is older champagne. I don't have to worry about it. I took the wire off and didn't keep the serviette on top of it, and I kind of put, I don't know what I stopped to do something. I just put the champagne back down into the bucket, right, with the wire off.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that, like that's the oldest rule in the book, right?
Yeah.
And I'm putting it in there. I reach over to make room because I'm going to pour from Magnum. It goes off, and it's like a pinball machine. It hit ceiling, wall. But I mean, it was horrific. It seemed like forever. It probably was 2 seconds. But it was like boom, 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 and landed, I swear to God, in a guy's empty water glass.
Oh my God.
I mean, you could do it a million times, or you could never. And I'm like.
And this was in the middle of
I was right smack dab in the middle of in a big table in the middle of a dining room, and it bounced from one side to the other, off ceiling, wall, onto the table, and I'm like, and people were, it went silent. Everyone's like that, and I'm like, anyone hurt? Is anyone hurt? I'm like, okay.
Hey, as long as it keeps up and you're not pointing it or anything.
It was boom, boom. I mean, it was probably at an angle, so it was all over the place, and I was mortified. First and foremost, I'm like, okay, no one got hurt. Put your eye out with that champagne cork. So that one, I never forget that one. So I never forget to.
Hopefully, you were forgiven by the diners for that
one.
But
they were like, they were having a good time.
As long as the glass didn't explode on the floor or anything like that.
They didn't complain too much. They were like, what was that? And I'm like, sorry. So that was one that I should have known better. So.
And in terms of wine, are you seeing a higher demand in white wines being ordered, or is this kind of mainly a red?
I don't know. I get out and when I get out and I talk to them, I got to remind myself I'm in a bubble. I know when people ask my advice on, if you're having oysters or caviar or whatever to start Burns, I'm like, if we're not going to do champagne, we got to do white. I feel like I sell a healthy dose of white Burgundy in particular, but like I said, sometimes I'm in my Bern bubble. But I encourage the staff, and I said, well, I'll tell you why. One of the things I said, even like if I come out and I talk to you about, okay, this is going to be your steak wine, but you get a soup course and a salad course all with your steak here at Bern. So I always try to encourage the staff to say, okay, well, look, we want to get the red wine out and decant it because you felt the temperature. Wine, it takes a few minutes to get the wine up to, it's coming out of the cellar, 55 degrees. We prefer to decant and get it warmed up. Hey, you want a glass of champagne? And it's not, yes, we're in the business to upsell, but really it's more about, hey, let's get something in front of you with your salad and your soup and wait and have that waiting for that red wine to get some air and to warm up, and so we try not to pour it out till steaks are coming down. So I guess that's I sell some white wine.
And you're a big believer in decanting, you guys?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I feel now, that I'm going to upset some of the because there's some Burgundy lovers that they're fine with you decanting, and there's others that are adamant that you don't decant it even if it's young. So when there's serious Burgundy being poured, I simply ask, and they're paying for it. I'm not going to tell them.
Yeah.
But we tend to decant the majority of the wines here.
Okay.
So.
And the older the wine is, should it be decanted longer? What's your
shorter?
Shorter.
In my opinion.
Okay.
Shorter. Because I never know. If it's way old, it could fall apart quickly. Mm-hmm. I feel like the younger the wine, even if the wine's so young that we're not worried about sediment, I say, hey, why not decant it? Let's give it more time to open up and to breathe. But with what we've got going on here, you almost have to decant because everything has sediment. So.
Yeah, that's true. And for you, you're sitting at Bern's. What would be the bottle in the cellar that you would like to open?
I mean, there's.
If Bern Laxer said, you know what?
Yeah, I mean,
Brad,
there's the obvious.
Or maybe today for dinner.
There's still so much interesting Rhone wine down there that is. I mean, I don't want to disappoint. I mean, let's open 47 Latour, but I mean, there's so much cool. I mean, there's old Clos de Pop down there still, from the 70s and 80s that are ungodly good.
Yeah.
And to have, like we were talking about, sometimes off vintage isn't really off vintage. It needs a little more time. There's like so much cool stuff like that still here that I think I probably I would hope I would go off the beaten path and do something, but I don't know. There's a 91 DRC RC down there that
yeah.
I bet actually there's a 57 down there in the rare room.
Oh my God.
I bet that's probably drinking really well, but
yeah. And my last question was, being here inside this room, I feel like it's timeless. I feel like it could be 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and this place remains very strong in its identity. What do you think? Is that deliberate in everything that you do?
I mean, you need to be growing. You always need to be going forward. Menus need to be changed. We need to talk about new wine regions. But at the same time, there's so much history here that you can't escape it. You literally can't escape it. It's everywhere. It oozes out of the cellar and the walls. So, I mean, I think I really like the direction we're going. We have a new chef that's, putting, I don't think we're a steakhouse at heart, but we've got some really, cool things going on, and with the menu. I mean, we're always, like I said, the younger kids are better at keeping up on what's hot and what's not. But we're all, because that's the way Bern was. Bern wasn't trying to, Bern was growing. Bern was always looking for tireless in finding what was new in wine and what was new in what was drinking well from a new region. So I mean, we can't stop that. We can't just rest on our laurels. We need. There's a lot more competition.
Exactly. And part of competing, you have a very strong cellar here. But part of competing is always adapting. And
Bern obviously did that. I mean, so we can't rest on our laurels. We got to keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
So. And I'm really, really lucky because, it's still a family-owned business, and Bern's son David is. I mean, he's kept us on that.
Yeah.
I think there's probably sometimes I'm like, why we got to do this or that? Why are we changing? And he'll be like, well, we can't just stay the same. We got to, and that's. Really cool.
Always staying true to the foundation, like you were saying, even before you started working here. Like you'd be at the bar, and you'd be telling your friends, "You don't understand where I am," and they're like, "Oh, it's just a steakhouse."
I'm like, you don't get it.
It's history. It's a museum, and I think that's why it's so cool that you guys do the tours.
Yeah.
Too, because
we encourage everyone to take it. We want them to
come here, do the tour.
Yeah, I mean, you need to see the cellar, and the kitchen is still. It's an amazing kitchen. I mean, there's so many things here that are unique. It's a must. You have to do it.
It's not just the cellar. It's the kitchen as well, and that's how you get to really. It informs.
We call it the Bern experience. The Bern experience. You got to have steaks downstairs, do the tour of the wine cellar in the kitchen, finish up in the Harry Wall room, and soak that all in. And it's you got to plan 3 or 4 hours if you're coming to dinner here.
You're not just here for a meal, you're here for full experience. Brad, I want to thank you so much.
For my pleasure, man. It was great. I enjoy. If you can't tell, after 23 years, I'm passionate about wine, but I'm passionate about this place. And when I have someone like yourself that wants to know, I'm like, you need to see all of it.
Yeah.
I think it's important. So thank you for
Of course.
listening to all my stories, man.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's not just this podcast episode, but we also have the video of the whole tour because, like you said, you can't just it can't just be this.
no.
We have to see it.
You have to see everything.
So we'll do that too. Thank you, Brad.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.